Hey, this is Above Average Adam, and it doesn't matter if you're here or here. It doesn't matter if you do this or this, because right now I hope you're in your last week of class anyway, at least for university kids. And if you're not quite there yet, you'll get there soon enough, and wish you weren't. I hope things are winding down a little bit, because soon enough it'll all come crashing down. Even though we're only on episode 2, we're gonna have to jump straight to the end. Today we're gonna be talking about how to prepare for finals. Now, I'm sure most of you have dealt with some sort of final exam, competition, performance, final recital, something of that sort. Once the end of March hits, April is the cue for the beginning of the end of everything. Provincials, nationals, recitals, tests, exams, final performances. Like the movie about MJ, this is it. A culmination of everything. I can't deal with it. But how do you prepare for something so big? Personally, I'm a procrastinator, like really badly. We all know that's like the worst thing to do, especially if you haven't done the work throughout the year. It's like I think I get the best results when I'm under a pressure cooker, but really it's not effective and I don't. But it's all about the preparation. Most of us wouldn't perform a song in front of an audience if we've never played it before. Everyone has to prepare. If someone says they don't, they're lying. Or if they really don't, I hate them. And I'm not talking about just these few weeks leading up to the final exam or performance. I'm talking about all the amount of work you should have already had put in. If you've honestly done the work and you know it, you don't need to study much. It's all about refining things. You can't expect to learn chapter 7 if it's down to your crunch time. You can review and fine-tune and tighten everything up, but you can't start from scratch now. And it's the same with sports. 1 week before competition, your technique isn't going to change much. You're not going to become Michael Phelps if you're not Michael Phelps. Your habits aren't going to diminish right before the competition. It's not time to scrap all the hard work you've already done. It's time to refine things and make it better. If you want to be above average or even just average, you got to put in an amount of work equal to where you want to go. Because like in Pokemon, a level 1 Pidgey without any playing time and any experience is still a level 1 Pidgey. So in order to pass, you got to meet that threshold. And if you want to go further, then you're going to have to put in a little more work or hope to get really lucky. But people expect to get results without doing the necessary work. I don't have eidetic memory. I'm no Mike Ross. I know I got to put in some amount of work in order to get there. You got to work hard like Katrina Bennett. Do the work beforehand, and then you'll be set. In badminton, the game is honestly won and lost off the court before the game even starts. It's all about how hard you practice beforehand, if you got your skills up to par, or your speed up there, whether you ate properly, slept properly, or if you just psyched yourself out. Most people beat themselves before they even step onto the court. They look at the draw, they look at who they're playing, and they give up. They look at their opponent and say they've lost already before they've even stepped on court with them. But instead of putting all that effort into giving up, why don't you set a game plan for yourself? Don't procrastinate, and don't give yourself excuses to procrastinate. Who cares if you're gonna lose? You know you're gonna lose, then prepare to lose. It's really subtle, but there is a difference in giving up and preparing to lose. But if you walk in with the most amount of preparation, then you can say, hey, I actually tried my best. Again with the Pokemon, because I love Pokemon. It's like you walk in with level 35 Slowpoke. Go, Slowpoke! It levels up during battle and learns a new move. You haven't practiced that move and you're not sure what it does. Will it help you? Will it not? Let's say it does help you. That's cool. You got lucky, and in that same battle, you level up again. But then you lose to the next Pokemon, and your Slowpoke unfortunately faints. Let's say you still win the battle, and your Slowpoke suddenly evolves into a Slowbro. Slowbro? Isn't that awesome? Bro. But because your Slowpoke already fainted, all you have left is a dead Slowbro. A fainted Pokemon is still a fainted Pokemon. You can't really use it, even though it's evolved. It's like learning an attack, but it's too late. But why not evolve before walking into the battle? Then you could try out that new Slowbro, rather than discover it halfway through the battle. In any performance or exam or final, you want to evolve, but why not evolve beforehand, rather than discover it after the final when you've already lost? I realize there's an excitement to winging it because you discover a lot of things at once. It's like you walk into Disneyland and you're like, whoa, there's so many different things. But because of that, it's a lot to process. The likelihood is that you're gonna crash and burn. I'm not saying you shouldn't or it's bad for you to learn something new during a final, but why would you? It means you didn't come in prepared. It shouldn't be anything new to you. In learning lines for a play, it takes at least 10 reads for you to memorize something, and half of them should be spoken out loud and in different ways. It should be the same for sport in a shot or a move. You gotta get it into your body. You don't wanna make too many new discoveries during the exam or the competition or whatever. If you already had those discoveries beforehand, you wanna do and use everything that you know, that you've practiced and you've rehearsed. Don't throw that stuff away. So the best approach is to prepare and be prepared. Some things you really can't control, but you want to optimize what little control you have. How you prepare is very personal to each individual. I can't tell you exactly what you should do, but here are some things that you could try. Number 1, routines and rituals. In Japanese culture, they have a strict routine of washing the floors before they do anything in the room. If you look at any athlete, they probably have their own personal routines and rituals that they use in order to perform at their best. Before a weightlifter goes to lift up their weights, they probably breathe a certain amount of times. They probably count their breaths. They make sure their feet are in the right place. These little details can get your mind focused and into the zone. It could be a matter of what your hands are doing, where your eyes are looking, what your feet are. Subtle little differences that make big differences in what you think. I know personally, when I walk into an exam, I have to do things a certain way. I have to make sure I have a certain number of pens and pencils, place them on my desk, have a water bottle, and anything else that I need. That way I don't forget. And if I miss a step, sometimes it throws me off too. Just from living, you probably have routines and rituals already in place, but it's identifying exactly what those things are. It's more of a mental thing than anything. If you bring this into an exam or a final, if you keep something consistent, it might help you because you're used to doing that. It gets you in the zone. So find out what your routine and ritual is. Break it down. Think about it in as much detail as possible. What makes your routine or ritual different from someone else's? Number 2, peaking. This is a sports term meaning that at the end of your season, you want to perform at your very best, hitting your peak. How do you peak for an exam? Typically, research says that in the amount of time leading up right before the competition, you would decrease in volume and increase in intensity. So that means you would work at 100% for a shorter amount of time. Rather than studying for 8 hours in a row, maybe do an hour, no breaks, no nothing. Do an hour and then cut it off. Take a break for like an hour, 2 hours, and go back to it. And the same thing. Shorter volume, more intensity. You want to work harder in a shorter amount of time because when you hit your finals, it should be easier than when you train. You don't want to have to go full out in order to get there. You want to be able to finish something with energy still in the reserve. If you're rehearsing for a play 2-3 weeks beforehand, you're not going to do the entire play over and over again. You're going to cut it down into different scenes. You're going to make sure those scenes are the best it could possibly be. If you run through the entire thing over and over, that's just way too tiring. Even when you do the entire thing, you're not going to do it in full until it really matters. Otherwise, you're going to exhaust yourself and burn out. But of course, there's a downfall to a peak. School seems to be designed for the peaking method because you want to hit your very best at the finals and then you have summer to recover. And peaking is a very personal thing. You don't want to hit your peak before or after because it matters with where your schedule is and where you peak. It is a very big hit or miss. So you want to make sure your schedule matches that tiny point where you hit your best performance right when it counts. Hopefully this video could provide some insight to you. If you have any input, suggestions, or questions, please leave them in the comment box below. And if you like what you saw today, please like, share, subscribe, and check out some of my other videos. So that's it for today. Good luck with your finals, your exams, your competitions, your performances, and just remember, you gotta catch them all.